Hi again, it's Matt from Glaucoma Pirates. This is video number 15 and it's probably the most uncomfortable video I'm going to have to make because it's addressing very serious issues around anxiety and depression and where I think it has possible connections to glaucoma, but probably more to do with just how your brain deals with glaucoma, and also certain medications that you may have been exposed to during your journey with glaucoma. The reason this is difficult for me is because I'm Mr. Happy normally, and Mr. Extrovert, and you know, everybody who knows me as fun Matt, you know, life and soul of the party, frontman in a band and everything else. So knowing that I'm putting this up that people can see, you know, feels weird, not massively comfortable. Friends and family and everything could probably be seeing this video and thinking, oh, I never knew this about that. But hey ho, it's for a good cause, it's for a good reason, and that is to know that we're not alone, and you're not alone if you're suffering with any form of anxiety and depression. There's obviously massive scales of anxiety and depression. I don't feel like I'm you know, at the top of those levels. I don't feel like, you know, my depression is a number 10 or my anxiety is a number 10, and you know, that sort of thing. But I certainly think it's affected me, and I've had sometimes where I've been worse, and sometimes where I've been better. And I just wanted to share these experiences with you, and hopefully, if you're going through similar things, it will maybe help, maybe it won't help, maybe it's just good to know that you're not on your own. So I'm going to start off with where this all started, really, because before 2.5 years ago, before I started my glaucoma journey and the stroke-like migraines that I've talked about in earlier videos, I didn't really understand anxiety or depression. And if a friend had come to me and said, you know, I've been feeling really anxious, I'd have been sympathetic, and but part of me would have still been thinking, oh, stiff up a lip, mate, pull yourself together, that sort of thing. Totally not the person to talk to if you wanted help with it. And I think that's probably why I feel a bit uncomfortable about talking about it now. But you know, we all live and we all learn, and the things that have happened to me over the last couple of years have certainly broadened my understanding of anxiety and depression, and how it can take hold and affect you in such a way that it changes you. So the beginning of my anxiety story started, I suppose, really when I had those stroke-like migraines when I was driving, and the first inkling of starting to suffer with anything close to anxiety and depression was probably as a direct result of those, because being someone who would drive, you know, up to 400 miles a day and not think about it twice, I always enjoyed driving, found it relaxing, to suddenly then be in a situation where, because you'd had a couple of these severe migraine attacks whilst driving, someone who was automatically, subconsciously becoming anxious about driving, worried about driving, worried about am I going to get home this time, am I going to end up in hospital again, you know, all those subconscious thoughts going through your mind all the time, and that's probably where I think the anxiety started. So before my glaucoma diagnosis, I was starting to notice that, and in hindsight, that's probably where it all started, just the general anxiety, which I think anybody would have if they'd have suffered those migraines whilst driving. But then that then festers and begins to build into normal everyday life. And when I was then given the acetazolamide, which really knocked me about, I think that also had a big impact on my mental health, and started my sort of drift into on and off depression and increased anxiety, where I wasn't just anxious about driving long distances anymore. I was anxious about driving short distances. I was anxious about taking the dogs to the park. I was anxious about going and visiting my parents who lived 3 miles away. I was anxious about going to do a gig with the band, and all these things that were just wouldn't even come into your mind. I was getting anxious about. I was building the anxiety up to levels that were uncomfortable, and again that was adding to my depression, because I was not. It was making things I used to enjoy doing, things that I wasn't enjoying doing anymore, and it slowly built, and you don't really understand it, and it's a while before you accept it as well, because you're just thinking, pull yourself together, I always force myself to do things, even when I felt uncomfortable, and even when my anxiety's been its worst and my depression's been at the lowest. I make myself do things, because that's the way out of it. That's the way to start to enjoy things again, and retrain those neurons in your brain to have a different reaction, rather than the panic or flight and flight reaction. And the symptoms I generally have with my anxiety are, headache, nausea. I feel very foggy-headed. Constant questioning in internally. What if this happens? What if that happens? What I'm gonna, what if I go mad, and all the rest of it. But joking apart, it starts to take over, and it starts to indent itself into your psyche, and it changes you. So anyway, that was the start, and where my anxiety, I think, came from. I went to the doctor, got to the point where I thought, I need to get to the bottom of this, because it doesn't seem right to me. I was seeing neurologists because of my migraines, and it was getting on top of me a bit. Went to the doctors, and he prescribed me Sertraline, which is the first medication I ever took for anxiety and depression. The Sertraline itself, I don't know if it helped. I don't know if it made any difference, or I didn't feel any different. It maybe gave me a bit of a placebo effect, where I thought, okay, I can do this now, or whatever. But it did have a negative effect on me, and that was that my headaches increased tenfold. I was getting migraines 3 or 4 times a week. I had a constant low-level headache. I felt foggy-headed all the time. After seeing my neurologist, and him seeing that I was on Sertraline, he decided that Sertraline was not what I should be. Sorry, my dog just jumped on the sofa. Sertraline is not good for headaches and people who suffer with migraines. In fact, it causes more. So he recommended that I came off Sertraline, and was, if I needed something, to go on to a medication called metazapam. So I weaned off Sertraline at that stage, just to try and explain a little bit about my mental health at this time, and I think something that how it affected me, because of the glaucoma diagnosis, and because my vision was changing all the time, and I was losing vision, peripheral vision, and that was affecting my driving, and it was affecting doing the things I always loved to do in the past. I started to suffer badly with. I felt like I was in between two worlds, and the one world was I suffered really badly with boredom. I'm a bit of a fidgeter. I like to be active. I like to do stuff, and when I get bored, I get depressed. And when I've got nothing to do, so I'm constantly trying to find things to do and fill time. But then when you have anxiety, that prevents you from doing the things that would help your depression. So it becomes like a never-ending cycle. When you're not anxious and you don't have the uncomfortable feelings of anxiety, with me anyway, I had the feelings of boredom, and depression sets in, and depression sets in then. So one always fueled the other, and it was almost like I was either on the anxious side, or I was on the getting depressed side and getting down about it. But that's the nature of the beast, I imagine, for a lot of people. So I'm going to cut this video short because I've already running up to 10 minutes. So we're going to do this in 2 stages. So this is video 1. There'll be a video 2 to follow, which takes you on from when I came off sertraline and what happened next. I was put on a medication called metazapam, which was recommended by the neurologist. But I'll talk about that in the next video. So that's where we are. Hopefully we're getting halfway through the journey, and just sharing is helpful. So thanks for watching, and catch the next video. Don't forget to subscribe. Cheers. Thanks a lot.